everyone. Welcome back to another Minisode of Stop Shitting on Yourself,
where we answer a question with a glass of whatever the fuck. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Wow, are we both hydrating today?
It's so hot. I need to.
That's so true. Like today morning, I went to the gym and it was nice and cool in the morning, right? But I just sweated out too much stuff, toxins and all of that, right? So I gotta hydrate. So no alcohol again this week, but it's all good because I got my water that gives me life, and you got your coconut water that gives you life. So cheers.
I know. Cheers. I mean, you've been doing so good going to the gym. Like,
I've been trying. Thank you.
I need to get back to the gym. I keep telling my husband that I need to go back to the gym, and like somebody needs to motivate me because motivation from myself telling myself is not enough. And you clearly keep telling me to go back, but I just feel like, quarantine, put on a little weight. I'm sure everybody has, all the TikTok transformation from like super fit to like not so much. That's me too.
Same here.
And I love my husband, but I feel like he almost feels like it's a trap when I ask him, like, do I look fat or do I look like I've gained weight?
Oh my God.
Like, I feel like he feels like it's a trap. That's why he's always like, no, you look great. And then, like I'll call him out and be like, but I don't, because I obviously have a scale and my scale tells me otherwise.
Well, okay, but he's being a good husband, right?
Like,
he's telling you that you're beautiful no matter what happens, no matter what, and he's saying you look fine. He's being a good husband, like he is. Are you not satisfied with his answer?
I feel like I want the truth.
Okay. So you would rather have him tell you like, yes, you kind of gained a little bit of weight, or like, tell you in a gentle way? Would you prefer that?
Like I would love the truth, but I also feel like I can't handle the truth.
Well, it's never happened before yet, right? He hasn't said anything.
No, he hasn't. That's why it's like, I also feel like the moment where he's like, okay, fine. Yes, you have. I just like break down and I don't know what to do with myself.
That's so funny because I honestly would never want to hear my significant other tell me that I gained weight. I'd be like, you did too, bitch. Be like in their face, like, don't ever tell me again. Even though I know I probably gained weight. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear from you. I just want to hear like, oh, you look fine, honey. You look great. Blah, blah, blah. Like, hype me up, and then because I know the truth. I already know that I gained a certain amount of weight. So I'm going to push myself. But, I know it's different for everyone, right? Like everyone has like external motivators. Sometimes it's internal motivators. When someone bashes on me for being like fat or gaining weight, it does not motivate me. It makes me hate them. Like, what's your problem? You know what I mean? Like, if anything, my motivation comes internally. Like, I want to feel good in my body. Like, I don't want to feel like a sloth because I can't fit into the pants that I used to or whatever, right?
Yes.
So for me, it has to come internally. So if I had a partner, I would never want them to tell me the truth about me gaining weight unless it was like life-threatening, if it got up to that point.
So you would rather have them lie to you?
Yes. With that, absolutely. Like if I gain a little bit of weight, like don't tell me, because then you tell me stuff like that, I'm gonna come back 10 times harder with you. Like just don't.
Wow.
I'll be like, well,
okay.
Well, what about you and your belly pooch and your love handles? What about you, huh? Like you think you're so great, but they probably are great. You know what I mean? Like, in the future, maybe, I don't know. But anyway, I don't think I would want to know.
Okay. All right. Well, I think this perfectly leads into the question that I was going to ask you for this week.
Oh, okay.
So is lying better than the truth, or is lying sometimes better than the truth?
I guess, since we're talking about this, Sometimes I guess so. Sometimes I guess so. Like, I don't condone lying in a relationship, but when it comes to like, your significant other asking you if they got fat, I would say, yeah, it's a trap. Like Lawrence is smart dude. Okay. Like, I think that would be the only type of situation where it would be okay to not completely tell the truth. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
It's tough. I think it's like, it's such a situation by situation type of answer,
True.
because I do feel like there are certain things where you might not need to go there. But there are definitely very like hardline situations where it's like, yes, the truth is better than lying. 100%.
Mm,
Like if you're lying about cheating, like it's never better. But if for example, I don't know, my husband's mom
uh-huh.
told him that it looked like I gained weight, like I don't need to know that.
That's true. That is true. Okay.
Yeah. So like things like that where I feel like, if it's something you don't need to know, if it's something
Mm-hmm.
that like, doesn't like hurt you one way or the other, I feel like
Okay.
there's like some wiggle room in
Okay.
not telling the truth.
I can see that. Now, then it makes me curious. Because I don't think, like if your husband's mom said something about you to
Hmm.
him, it's not like you're going to ask him like, what did your mom say about me, like
Yeah,
out of the
true.
blue, right?
Hmm.
It would be up to his discretion to whether tell you or not. So
Hmm.
makes me curious. It also brings up this question of, is it better to be silent about certain things? And would that still be considered lying if you're holding back information? Or when would
Ooh.
it be considered that? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like the whole like four different questions, but
Ooh,
but
that's a good question.
because I don't know about you, but I think holding back information is deceitful. And it does go
Hmm.
under the category of lying. Maybe you're not outwardly lying and, telling a lie, but
Hmm.
you are holding back information for whatever intent.
Hmm.
And that is being deceitful. You're not telling the full truth. And therefore it is under that umbrella category of lying. So
Mm.
when would I don't know, like is there a situation where that would be okay? Or is that never okay?
That's such a good question. Like, okay, for me, I think I'm a very bad liar. Like my husband can
Mhm.
100% tell whenever I'm like not even lying,
Yeah.
just like uncomfortable with something. I have
Yeah.
zero poker face. I'm
Okay,
horrible at
okay.
it.
That's why we get along.
Exactly. And I'm 100% for telling the truth. Like even if the truth might hurt a little bit, like at the end of the
Hmm.
day, it's so much easier to tell the truth than to like, lie about it or
Right.
something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do feel like if you're holding back information,
Hmm.
like it is considered lying a little bit, right? Like, because I feel like there's always that question of like, oh, is half truths consider a lie?
Mm.
Or
Right.
like the example of, for example, if you ask someone like, oh, does my dress look good on me? Or does this shirt look good on me? And they answer your
Uh-huh.
question with a fact, right? Like instead of saying, yes, it looks good, it's like,
Oh my gosh.
I like that it's a white dress.
Oh my gosh. Girl, like Psych 101, that's what you do when you don't want to actually give a compliment and tell the truth. Like you
Yeah.
state a fact and you say it in like, oh, I like the way that it blah, 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 blah fact, right? And then the
Mhm.
person who hears it will hear it as a compliment.
Right, right. Or by the time you catch the fact that it's not actually a compliment, it's like, "Wait, what?" But then that's too late for you to say something,
Right.
So, that's such a good question. I mean, I do feel like there are certain things that you can, like, keep the peace and, just say like, "Oh, yeah, like, looks good," especially if you think that's what your friend wants to hear. Unless it really looks bad on them, then I'd probably
Mm.
say something, but it's like their favorite dress and they put it on and you're like, "Do I look good?" You're like, "Yeah, that's great."
It's like if you like it,
Yeah.
because I think there are certain things where like for that example, right? When your friend is asking you like, does it look okay? Does it look great? And yet it's their favorite dress. Of
Mhm.
course you're gonna be like, well, if you like it, it's not my cup of tea, but if you like it, then it's great, you know?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But obviously, you know, everyone's different and your friend might not take that very well either. So it really depends on your friend dynamic and all. But yeah, and I wanted to ask this question because you know when like speaking of relationships, right? Kind of going back to like a romantic relationship. Um, how would you handle the situation if, for example, like your husband comes back from work, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking about like, oh, there's this new coworker. They, you know, just started with a team. And they recently started this week and they're pretty awesome. Okay, cool.
Mm.
The next day they come back and they're like, oh yeah, I went out to lunch with like the team and that coworker was there. Okay, cool. Awesome. The next day they come back and they're like, well, yeah, I had a lunch with that coworker and they were really nice and they're from this state and they just recently moved out here and they don't really know anyone. So I went to lunch with them. Notice how I'm using they and them pronouns.
Yes.
So I know that some people like to be addressed as they and them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in that situation, knowing your husband and knowing the possible scenario with his workspace, right? What
Mm-hmm.
would you think about that?
Totally suspicious. Like 100%, you know?
Why so?
It might be different because, you know, I know my husband, but I
Mm-hmm.
know all of his team members by name. He knows all of my team members by
Mm,
name. We talk about our work every day.
yeah.
But it would get very weird if all of a sudden they, you know, maybe like address the coworker as like, oh, that coworker, or, you know, not
Mm,
explicitly pointing certain things out. Then it's like, well, are you trying to hold back something from me? But speaking of
yeah.
that though, I have had a coworker
Oh,
whose girlfriend
I was
is
like, my heart
no,
like
no,
kind of sank because I was like, wait, a coworker with your like great husband Lawrence? Like, what happened
no,
there?
no, no. No, but I have had a coworker
Yeah,
whose
yeah.
girlfriend I guess like didn't want him hanging out with any of his, you know, like female coworkers and just told him like if you ever hang out with a girl coworker one-on-one, you got to let me know or just like don't hang out with them one-on-one.
Okay.
Um you know, I hey, whatever they want to do in their relationship, I feel like that's up to them. But if she explicitly said something like that, you know, you should respect her. If you agree to her terms, and if you guys are still together, I feel like you should respect that. But
Mm-hmm.
obviously, he would, when he told me, and we were like actually eating lunch one on
Mm-hmm.
one at work. You know, I mean, even if it was like a work lunch or something, I was like, this is probably a little shady. Like, are you going to tell your girlfriend after we had lunch that, you know, it was just
Mm-hmm.
like the two of us? And he's like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's just easier to not tell her. And I'm like, I would not like that if my
Ooh.
husband did that to me. Obviously, I
Yeah.
I don't tell my husband like you're not. I mean, I do jokingly sometimes like you're not allowed to look at other girls or talk to other girls, not even about work. Um, but you know, I'm like joking about that. But I think she was pretty
Mm.
serious in that situation. So you know, kind of similar to yours. It's like he can opt to not tell her, but I think in that instance, it is considered lying. Even if you're silent about something or withholding certain truth, it is
Mm-hmm.
because it goes directly against, you know, what you guys agreed on.
Absolutely. And I think with that situation, and I think with the hypothetical situation I gave with with like, you know, your husband and the hypothetical coworker, in both situations, I feel like it is considered lying. And I don't think that it's in that case that lying is better than telling the truth because it's the intentions behind it. Like who is that lie benefiting? Is that benefiting you or your
Ooh,
partner or the relationship in general, right? Like
yeah.
if it's benefiting you because you're having these sneaky relationships with whoever, I don't know,
Hmm.
right? And you know that it's not going to make your partner feel good, then why the fuck do it anyway? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, why
Yeah.
are you going to even lie about it too? Like, if you did it and you know your partner's going to feel a certain type of way, and you're like, well, look, I want to be able to hang out with my coworkers and they're just coworkers. And let me tell
Hmm.
you why. And you're, you know, you work on being reassuring, you work on it together and whatever, you go through therapy, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Then that's something that you can work on and like be honest about and, you know, work your way up towards.
Hmm.
But if you're in that situation where you're deliberately hiding information because you feel like, I don't know, for some reason you just want to keep that person a secret from your partner.
Yeah.
That's so deceitful. And I think that is part of lying. And it's
That
not good.
is.
It's not better than the
Yeah.
truth. Like, you're just trying to avoid conflict there, that like it's going to become a bigger conflict and a bigger issue if they find out that you're literally deliberately hiding information,
Yeah.
period. You know?
Yeah.
So,
And I feel like even if you end up doing something that maybe like both of you agreed that like this is off limits, you end up doing it, it's just much easier to have the conversation when you're upfront about it than for the other person to find out about it and then have that conversation. It's both still not a great conversation to have.
right.
But at least, like you're coming at it, like wanting the other person to understand and at least kind of owning up to it.
Yeah, and I think it speaks a lot more about your character if you're able to be honest about that,
Yeah.
instead of hiding behind a lie. Like, I feel like hiding behind a lie like that is just so cowardly.
Mm.
And I don't know, like if someone were to just like lie about that because they wanted to avoid conflict or because they knew it would make someone feel bad, whatever. I mean, I don't personally know if I want that kind of energy in my life.
Yeah.
Like I want somebody to be like 100% honest, even if it hurts. Like, then
Mhm.
let me use that information to make a decision myself. But if I don't have that information from you, then like, if anything, it just causes more like chaos and turmoil within the relationship. And then it also takes away from me making a decision of what I want to do in the relationship.
Mhm.
Like, at least freaking be honest with what you did.
100%. I mean, even adding on to that, like I feel like a lot of people use the excuse of like, oh, I don't want to hurt the other person, or it's just much better if they don't know. If they don't know, they can't get hurt about it. Like that's
Ugh.
such
Oh my
a
God.
horrible excuse because you're taking
Yeah.
away someone else's power to react, because in that situation like you're taking away someone's choice, you're making that decision for them, and it's so unfair,
Hmm.
especially when you guys are in a relationship. But I
Absolutely.
hear that so much. It's like, oh, I don't want to have that
Ugh.
argument with them, or I don't want to whatever. Like it's gonna hurt them more if they find out. Like let them make that decision.
Yeah. And it's like, if you know that that's going to hurt them, why the did you do it in the first place? You know what I
Ding
mean? Like,
ding
I'm sorry.
ding.
I'm like, why the did you do that in the first place? Okay. Please tell me,
Yeah.
give me a good reason. Whatever excuse you bring, whatever reason, quote unquote, you bring is going to sound like an excuse and it's never going to be good enough. Okay. But
Hmm.
anyway, why'd you do that in the first place? Okay. You did it. Okay. Okay. Right. But,
Yeah.
but, why are you hiding it? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, don't hide that shit. Like, why are you being so cowardly? Like, at least freaking own up to what the hell you did. I don't know. I do hear that a lot too, and I have heard it from like previous people's, and also with friends and their relationships
Hmm.
where their significant others have kind of done that before too, or their past significant others now, I guess. And I just think like, I don't know. For me, it's so dishonest and it
Hmm.
speaks so much about who they are as a person that I don't know how else to put it, but it makes you feel really icky that you're with that
Yeah.
person. Yeah, like you can't trust them. And like what else are they hiding? It makes you wonder, like, what else have you literally been hiding from me?
Yeah. For sure. For sure. Like, I do feel like, like there are some things where it's very clear that lying is not better than the truth, right? Like, just because
Mm-hmm.
you don't tell them something doesn't mean that it makes that situation any more right.
Right.
Um, And there are certain things like, like maybe lying about the fact that you haven't gained weight, like that might be okay. But
Yeah.
I do think in general though, like if your intentions are because you don't want to do something and not because it's actually because of, the other person's feeling that you're considering, I feel like the general rule of thumb is if the intention is something that benefits yourself, not saying something, it's probably a no. Like, tell
Mm.
them the truth. Lying is bad in that situation.
Yeah, I do feel like it's so hard to come up with a bunch of situations where lying is better than the truth.
Yeah.
Like seriously, the only thing I can think about is like, well, don't ever tell your partner that they got fat or they, like don't look the way that they used to. No one is going to look the way that they used to,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Or, if they hear something from their parents and your significant other really doesn't need to hear that you got fat. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the only situation that I could really think about right now. Obviously, I'm sure there are more. right? There are other situations where maybe lying is a little bit better than the truth, but it's hard for me to think about too many situations where it could be. I feel
Yeah.
like honesty is just always, 100%. That's where it's at. That's where your relationship's going to grow, and that's how you're going to be a healthy human being. But,
Yeah.
once again, not everyone's like that. So you do you, but just saying, man, be honest.
Yeah. And we've learned this since like the second grade. Like honesty is the best policy. So, and I don't know if it's because I just don't have the emotional capacity to come up with an elaborate lie.
Maybe, yeah.
But I just feel like sometimes like people go out of their way to lie about something that is like so elaborate, and they, have to like get so many people to like agree to like have them tell this lie. That's just like,
Yeah.
why? Like,
It's
why?
exhausting. Yeah, like why
Yeah,
live your life that way? Gosh, like aren't you
exactly.
tired?
Give yourself a break. Tell the
Yeah,
truth.
exactly. I know, because sometimes I feel like telling the truth, it's just, it is scarier sometimes when you think
Mhm.
about it. You're like, I don't know how that person's going to react.
Right.
And therefore, I don't know if I want to tell the truth because I know that it's going to negatively impact me and possibly the relationship. So it
Mhm.
might be scary taking that first step of being honest, but at least you're not compromising your integrity and like who you are as a person by lying.
Yeah, I mean, own up to the consequences. I think that's probably why it's so scary. It's like, you
Mm-hmm.
don't know the unknown, but at the same time, you might not know how like a lie is going to play out. So they're both in the unknown anyway.
True, true, true. Very true. Yeah. So in conclusion, lying, I guess, is not better than the truth. Maybe in like small scenarios, but like usually,
Yeah,
right? Is
agree.
I think that's the conclusion that we're coming to, right? I
Yes, the
think so.
moral of the story is do not lie.
Right, right. Do not lie. Tell the truth.
Yeah, exactly. But, as always, let us know in the comment section below what you think. Are there scenarios aside from the ones that we've outlined, which is, I don't think great. But are there like
Right.
actual scenarios where you feel like maybe lying is better than a truth, or even,
Hmm.
half truths? Have you been caught in that situation and you've opted to lie? I'd like to know what that is potentially.
Yeah.
All the juicy details.
Right. Yeah. Let us know in the comments and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.